If your blood runs orange and blue, this is the pod for you. You're listening to Orange and Blue Bloods, hosted by EJ Stewart and Tommy Beer. Let's get to it.
With this big win last night at the Garden. So the Knicks got a crucial dub at MSG last night, defeating the Miami Heat. The Knicks survived some frigid shooting, a slew of first half turnovers, and an injury to Julius Randle to take a 2-point lead into the halftime period. The Knicks were then led by an absolute dazzling performance once again by Emmanuel Quickley, who led the team with 24 points. Quentin Grimes also had a big game. He had 23 in this one. He was the main guy responsible for guarding Jimmy Butler. Did an outstanding job keeping him in check. The Knicks took over the game in the fourth quarter on the defensive end, holding Miami to just 16 points in the period. Their defense, in part, sparked a 9-0 run midway through the fourth quarter, capped off by back-to-back breakaway dunks from Grimes and Josh Hart. That ended up kind of putting the Knicks ahead for good. Jalen Brunson, who had been out many games, or at least the last few games, out of the Knicks lineup, he returned in this game, scored 12 points in 30 minutes, but did not close this game. Coach Tom Thibodeau elected to stick with the lineup that was playing well. That lineup included IQ, Grimes, Hart, RJ Barrett, and Isaiah Hartenstein. The group would secure a win for the Knicks, 101-92. Knicks now enter Thursday 4 games ahead of Miami, who have the first play-in spot, the last spot, outside of the playoffs, as they sit as the 7th seed currently. Knicks also secured the tiebreaker over Miami, meaning they won the season series 3-1. So, Tommy, how did the Knicks do it?
Let's start first and foremost with defense. I think that's the story of the game for the Knicks. We know what happened last Wednesday. Miami scores 127 points, shoot 57% from the floor, over 50% from downtown. And last night, Miami scores 92 points, shoots 44% from the floor, 33% from behind the arc. Sometimes it's as simplistic as, yes, this game, was a make or miss league. And the Knicks forced the Heat to miss a lot of shots yesterday, just played well defensively. And then the other major takeaway was end of the third quarter, score is 76-76. Randall's already ruled out with that nasty ankle sprain we'll talk about. Brunson's clearly not 100%, was a little bit rusty, as he kind of works his way back into game shape, just hasn't had that consistency. Knicks start the quarter, as you mentioned, with IQ, Grimes, Barrett, Hart, and Hartenstein. I looked it up this morning. Amazingly, those 5 guys hadn't been on the floor together. Just, that 5-man unit hadn't played a second prior to stepping on the floor to start the fourth quarter last night. Those guys remain in the game the entire fourth quarter, outscore the Heat by 11, sparked by a 9-0 run middle of the quarter, multiple, dunks off fast breaks, Ihart, defending the rim, Hartenstein getting in passing lanes. Yeah. IQ knocking down big shots, Grimes playing incredibly well for the 4th straight game, really taking his game to the next level. So often we've talked in these post-game pods the day after a victory, Randall stepped up and scored, 37 and 12, 12 rebounds, 5 assists. Brunson had a 40-piece. And then there's IQ chips in, has a big game here and there. Grimes has a great fourth quarter. Mitchell Robinson blocks 4 shots. Ihart and Hart come off the bench and spark a victory. And that's what this game was about. It was about the team. Leading scores 24 points, low scoring game. They did just enough to get the victory. And in the fourth quarter, it was about guts, determination, talent, effort. And that's what the Knicks had more of than the Heat, sparked by these 5 guys. IQ 25th overall pick, Grimes 25th overall pick, Hart 30th overall pick, Hartenstein 42nd overall pick, I think, in the 17th draft, and RJ Barrett a top pick coming off a terrible first half. He was awful in the first 2 quarters, 0 for 8 from the floor. But yet, as we've seen from him time and time again, he puts it in his rearview mirror. He said he changed the shoes at halftime to kind of change the mojo. Comes out and scores 11 points in the second half. And without Brunson and Randall, they needed that timely offense, and they got it from Barrett. Last point I'll make, just as far as that kind of final quarter, credit to Tibbs. for leaving those guys in the
Yep.
on the floor together. Interestingly, he had Brunson about to check in about midway through that quarter, saw how well the team was playing defensively, saw the progress they were making, yanked Brunson back to the bench. Brunson, of course, being the consummate professional, is the first guy standing, the first guy clapping, said all the things after the game. This is just a really easy team to root for. So many guys that whose effort and production exceed their talent level, is evidenced by the fact that they slipped into the late first or the second round. They cheer for each other, they root for each other. There's a lot to like there, and I thought this game, because it wasn't ugly. It wasn't pretty, rather. This was a kind of sloppy, sluggish game. The Heat did not play well. They should, this is a terrible season for Miami considering the expectations. But that's a story for another day. As far as the Knicks are concerned, made it a little more sweet to kind of Pat Riley and Butler and Spo and those guys for them to kind of put their foot on their neck of the Heat and kind of prevent them from advancing to that, most likely advancing into the playoffs and having to fight their way out of the play-in tournament, and a little extra. But yeah, great win for the Knicks, great win for the franchise, great win for the fans, and what has been a certainly exciting season.
Absolutely has been an exciting season. And you mentioned it, Tommy, the defense in this one was a difference maker, because I thought in particularly a first quarter that was so rugged. And so I think that might have been the worst first quarter offensively the Knicks have played. The amount of turnovers, the amount of missed layups. If it wasn't Quentin Grimes, they would have been down. I don't know how they
0 for 6 from the free throw line.
Free throws, yes, couldn't make a free throw. I don't know if you even looked it up, but I tweeted. I was like, has the team ever started a game 0 for 6 from the free throw line? Like maybe there was a game with Shaq, I guess, got fouled, right, maybe, or Will Chamberlain, but 0 for 6 to start. And these were good free throw shoots. It wasn't like Mitch went to the line 6 times. Right. I don't know if he shot a free throw.
IQ mystery.
Yeah, so it was a really rough start, but they kind of kept themselves in the game because their defense started the game strong first. But they got out to 8-0 run to begin with, and their defense really held serve for the entire game, and then really kind of closed the show in the fourth quarter. And it's crazy how that closing line that we got happened essentially by accident, because if Randall doesn't get hurt, Obi doesn't play that long stretch of the entire third quarter, and Tibbs now trying to mix and match what he was going to do. I was wondering if Sims may come on cold or how he would work that, but he decided, let's just play, I guess the rest of the way with 8 men essentially, and just try to play hard at the 4, which is something that he has talked about. It's something that he had mentioned is something he thought he could maybe do. We had not really seen it much this season yet, but here was a prime example to do that, because the Heat oftentimes play Jimmy Butler at the 4. They play smaller lineup, so this was the perfect team to run this up against. And I gotta be honest, like, this is a line that they probably have to look at as something that they can use in the playoffs, because it is probably their best defensive lineup. I mean, when you consider you get Brunson off the floor, Randall's defense can be spotty at times, and it's one of their quickest lineups. Quickly, and Grimes as a backcourt defensively. Now you got RJ, who's playing much better defense. I think he needs to get more credit for the defense he's been playing late. And then, of course, Josh Hart is a dog. And then, in Hartenstein, he was phenomenal in this game. He had 2 steals. He had a block in this one. Again, the stat line won't always suggest kind of his impact, but, I mean, he made some key plays during that 9-0 stretch defensively that helped the Knicks put the Heat away. So that's a line that they got to explore. Like, that's not something that typically say, all right, it happened one game and throw that away. They're going to have to get back to that. And, the play of Emmanuel Quickley continues to just be, a revelation. He really is tracking to be an impact borderline star player in this league. Like, how many games have we seen where the Knicks are playing, quote unquote good competition? And I think the Heat are a talented team that's underachieving, obviously. And Quickley's able to dominate games. I mean, he's not playing against guys who are, we ain't saw the Rocket game 40 points. Okay, it's the Rockets. Maybe you don't care about that as much. But there have been other games against really good teams where Emmanuel Quickley is out there. He's the best player on the floor. Last night in a game where Bam Adebayo and Jimmy Butler are playing in the game, Emmanuel Quickley, again, still best player on the floor, a guy who they couldn't guard. If he made some free throws, he would have had 30 last night. So another great performance from Emmanuel Quickley. And I do think that Grimes, I hope he doesn't get lost in the shuffle, because I agree Emmanuel Quickley is playing. Because Quentin Grimes, his emergence over this last week or so, because remember, even during that losing streak, he was playing really well. He was like the only guy playing well, really. So his emergence and how he's kind of being able to break through the kind of maybe sophomore wall here, where maybe those minutes kind of got to him and now he's kind of refreshed and he's ready to go. If this is the guy they're going to get from in terms of his production, the Knicks become a very dangerous team because you know what you got from Brunson and Randall. Now you have Grimes and IQ playing at this level. You got to be really excited about what Knicks can do in the playoffs potentially.
Emmanuel Quickly, best player on the floor last night. Monday night, Emmanuel Quickly, best player on the floor last night in the Rockets game. But game before, Orlando, Knicks lost, but Emmanuel Quickly was the best player on the floor. On the floor. Last 3 games during that 3-game stretch, 29.7 points per game, 6.7 dimes, 2 steals, 3 made 3-pointers while shooting over 59% from the floor and over 47% from downtown. Those are remarkable numbers. The game, the overtime slugfest marathon game in Boston, where Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown were in the game, as we talked about. Ike Emmanuel Quickly, best player on the floor. It's become now what is this guy's ceiling?
Right.
A lot of talk about the Knicks need a 3rd star. I don't think IQ is that, is the type of guy I don't know if he has all NBA ceiling. But at this point, the way he's played over this, this season at large, I think the last 3 games have locked up 6th man of the year. I think it's almost a foregone conclusion at this point. With as well as he's played, as efficient as he's been, the Knicks locking up at least the 6th seed, most likely a 5th seed. All these factors, I'd be shocked if IQ didn't win 6th man of the year right now. If, for a 23-year-old player to be the best 6th man in the NBA says quite a lot. Those guys are few and far between. So it really changes kind of the future dynamic. And yes, really good point about Quentin Grimes. 4 straight games now where he's 15 plus points during this 4-game stretch. He's averaging 21 points. And he's also doing the other things that it's not just scoring the ball. He's not a guy that's going to, he's not Duncan Robinson who's going to stand in the corner and make threes. During this 4-game stretch, 21 points, 6 rebounds, 4.3 assists, 1.5 steals, 5 made trays. He has 23 pointers in the last 4 games, shooting 53.6% from the floor, 51.3% from downtown. You can't say enough about, obviously, not only his offensive and not only is he contributing, he's doing so efficiently. His defense last night on Jimmy Butler was a primary reason why the Knicks won that game.
Outstanding.
The combination of Hart and Grimes putting Butler in clamps, changed the game. Butler had 2 points in the 4th quarter, finishes the game with 12 points. And a lot of that has to do with the fact that he was constantly had either Grimes or Hart, basically for every second he was on the floor. Those guys who were in his shirt cut the head off the snake, and the Heat had no chance. Relying on Kevin Love, washed up Kevin Love shooting threes. Gabe Vincent, who plays like Jordan against the Knicks, wasn't enough. Which is crazy. Hero had some moments here and there. Bam didn't do much for the 2nd straight game. So, tons of credit to the Knicks and especially those 2 wings.
Yeah, I think Jimmy Butler is still arguing with the refs, and Josh Hart is still looking for the handshake from Jimmy Butler after the game. He's still standing there at Madison Square Garden right now, wondering, is Jimmy Butler going to shake my hand after this game? I agree. I thought that their defense was the difference, those 2 guys in particular guarding Jimmy Butler. And what a difference just like a week makes. I mean, remember this Knicks team played the Heat last week, and remember how hapless they looked defensively? Like, they just couldn't guard these guys on any level. And now you come into this game and you saw the defense again from the beginning. They kind of set the tone even though they were down. It was like, look, if they just figure it out offensively, they'll win this game. And it was crazy because Julius got hurt, and I still felt like I think they're still going to win this game because like they're guarding so well. And now we know, okay, if somebody gets hurt, Emmanuel Quickly could go out there and be a star caliber guy in a game like this. And that's essentially what he did. He picked up his play. You mentioned Quentin Grimes and how he's been playing of late. You mentioned the rebound too. I think is also a really important thing because I think that's one of the things that I think part of that's because he guards a lot of the best players, so he's not around the ball as much. So a lot of times he's contesting shots, so he's not getting rebounds. But because him and Hart got to kind of switch off a couple of times, like we've now seen the last few games that he's been able to make an impact on the glass, which is actually one of his best attributes as a shooting guard. Like he came into that draft class as one of the best rebounding guards in the draft. So seeing him attack the glass the way he has, I think maybe watching how Hart attacks the glass kind of shows him, hey, I can go out there and do that as well. He has the same capability. The Knicks are already a strong rebounding team. Anybody that can make an extra effort on that helps. So Quentin Grimes attacking glass, what he has been important. And you mentioned RJ Barrett as well. He's Mr. Resilient. Like, again, I mean, he missed like 70 layups in the first half. Like, I don't know what was going on. And he was attacking the mismatch that he was getting from Vincent. And for whatever reason, he just could not finish. But he stuck with it, hit some big shots, hit a big three in that fourth quarter as well. And that's kind of what you expect from him. He continues to kind of show that he can put things behind him and still, make an impact on the game. So Knicks get a big win here. How confident are you at this point, looking at the standings, that the Knicks are kind of locked into that 5 seed? I mean, I think we both agree that, missing the playoffs seems almost impossible at this point, regardless of if Randall even sits, I think. But like now, he now officially kind of in the rearview mirror. Now you have the Nets right behind them. Do you think that the 5 seed is pretty much locked at this point, or do you feel like they still have something to worry about here?
Yeah, I still think they have a little more work to do. As we
Okay.
mentioned, Nets only 2.5 back, and they have a really easy schedule down the stretch. The Knicks don't have aren't certainly playing a murderer's row of games. But they, the Knicks next game, obviously, as we mentioned, is in Cleveland. That's a Cleveland's still fighting for potentially to climb up into the 3 seed. So it's not like they're calling off the dogs anytime soon. Nets have 6 games left on the schedule, 5 of them at home. They play the Hawks, then the Jazz, Timberwolves. Then they're at their one road game is against Detroit, which is by far and away the worst team in the league this season. They close up the season hosting Orlando, and then the Sixers. Who knows if the Sixers will have anything to play for? So is it impossible for the Nets to go 5-1, 4-2 in that stretch? Not impossible. So the Knicks still do have some work to do. You'd like to see them, close it out sooner rather than later. Obviously, we have the issue with Randall now. I'd be surprised if he was cleared to play Friday. We'll talk about that, further in depth in the next segment. But it's still, until it's actually said and done. We've seen the Knicks blow many late fourth quarter leads. This would be blowing a lead of that they don't want to do. And again, Brunson being back is huge. He didn't play well last night, but most importantly, said afterward he felt fine, didn't suffer any setbacks, which is obviously immensely important. They have, Obi Toppin's going to need to step up again. We'll talk about that in a few minutes. But yeah, I think, assuming the Knicks can go 3-2 in their final 5 games, even 2-3 should get the job done. But if you lose to Cleveland and then you lose another game, you don't want the Nets to be within a game and a half with a couple games to play.
Yeah, I agree. I think 2 games probably gets it. It's important to note that the Nets had the tiebreaker over the Knicks. They won. They won. Ours a tie.
It's 2-2. It's 2-2.
2-2.
So it would come down to division schedule, and I believe they're both division rather, and I believe they're both 8-8 in the division.
Yeah, Nets are 7-8 right now.
Yeah, I think the Knicks are 8-8 and the Nets are 7-8. So it may again come down to that Philly game. So if they win that game, they'd be tied in the division. Then it'd go further tiebreakers. So that's kind of still up in the air, actually.
Yeah, Knicks have conference record over the Nets, 29-19. But both these teams play teams in the conference, so 2-game lead there. So that's still up to play. So I feel good that the Knicks will get to 5. I don't know if it's a lock per se, but I feel good at this point. I think that, like you said, the Nets will have to play. And to their credit, I think they started to show some life of late. They had to play a little better than they played recently. And maybe, having Ben Simmons essentially away from the team, maybe will also kind of lift their spirits and not have that as a cloud kind of hanging over their head about what's going to happen to close the season in the playoffs. He's been shut down, so he's not now a factor for them. So maybe that actually helps the locker room, helps the team. I think Knicks will get this 5 seed, but they need to definitely find a way to get some of these games here down the stretch.
And just to the Knicks schedule at Cleveland Friday, then they host the Wizards, definitely, obviously a winnable game. Then 2 of their final 3 games are against the Pacers, very winnable games. Although it sounds like Halliburton will be back. But yeah, so at Cleveland, host Washington. Next Wednesday at Indiana, next Friday at New Orleans. New Orleans probably still fighting for a play-in playoff picture, but then they close the season at Indiana. So if nothing else, they should be able to win those 2 Indiana games, maybe throw in the Washington game. There's your 3 wins right there. But again, nothing's taken for granted. We know about the Knicks' slim margin of error, so they need to, they certainly can't, relax completely just yet.
Yep. Tankathon, Knicks had the 19th toughest schedule left with 5 games remaining. Nets had the 24th toughest schedule with 6 games remaining. So that's where things stand right there. Knicks win this one 101-92. So as we mentioned,